Hello dear viewers, my name is Ms. Helen from Wise Basic School. Inshallah, we will start a podcast with our students that will share their insightful and funny experiences with you. For the first episode, we have two 7th graders with us that will share their experience as a student from Wise. They have experience with exams and preparing for exams. So yes, they will share their tips and techniques with you. Hi guys, how are you doing?
Very good.
Alhamdulillah. Guys, can you tell me your names and which grade are you from?
I'm San from class 7C.
My name is ڕەوێن from class 7A.
Great. Nice to meet you guys. So I don't teach you, but inshallah we'll get to know each other today, okay? My first question is something that I think majority of people struggle with, even myself. Like, how do you manage time before exams? How do you, let's say that you make a schedule for yourself, or you divide your times into something useful that you can get benefit from for the exams?
So before the exams, like a lot of students make the mistakes that they make a schedule on the last days, like the last day before the exams. A schedule is more important if you start, for example, a week before the exams actually start. You can get a head start on your studies and it will be much better overall.
So you're saying instead of like starting right a day before the exam, you have to start a week before?
Yeah.
How about when people say you have to study, or let's say you have to listen during the lessons instead of let's say the exam, so that you can prepare yourself?
I think that preparing yourself for the exams is important, but what's way more important is listening in the class. Because in the class, you're actually learning that thing. When you're studying for the exam, it's just a revision from what you've learned in that class.
Very good. So you see the exam as a revision of what you've learned, not studying for what you might have, let's say, missed.
Yes.
Very good. Okay, what about you, Ryan? How do you manage time before the exams?
Of course, before every exams, there are rest, 1 or 2 days, or maybe even a week. We have a lot of time, but some people, like he said, start at the last day, study at the last day. And in the lessons, you have to listen because teachers are there to teach and you're just making yourself busy. You have to listen to do very well in the exams.
So you're both like suggesting that you have to listen before the exams, during the lessons, so that you can learn the things, right? Okay, what about managing stress? So I'm a stressful person myself, like I stress a lot, like on everything. But when it comes to exams, it might like freak some people out. They might lose control and they might not even be able to like study, prepare themselves for the exam. How do you manage stress before the exam?
So stress, I think that from my perspective, I think the 1 week or days, as I said, before the exams are actually just to manage the stress. They give you those days to have some rest days and do some hobbies. You won't be as stressful if you won't do those things.
So you're saying that don't burn yourself out before the exam, but instead manage the stress?
Yes.
How do you manage that? Like, for example, let's say that I'm a very stressful person. I don't know how to study. I don't have any motivation. How can I, let's say, get over that?
So, as my parents do tell me sometimes, they say even if you get a bad mark, in about a year's time, you won't even remember this day. So there's no reason to be stressed.
What about you? Do you have a remedy, like a cure for that problem?
Of course, the exams are scary, but if you listen during the lessons, you'll know everything about the exams and it will be very easy for you and you have no stress. Some lessons are easy and when you are good in a lesson, you're not scared for the exams. And even if you're scared, after you finish your study, you remember everything, then you'll not be scared.
Very good. So for like studying for the exams, I always see like two ways. You're either like studying with a friend or you're doing it on your own. Which one do you prefer? Like studying with a friend, a group of friends, or studying on your own? All right.
I prefer studying with yourself and no one else because when you study with your friends, they are of course your friends and you guys have a life together. Studying with yourself alone, you can memorize everything easily.
Have you tried like both of them?
Yes.
Do you see any, let's say, negative sides of studying alone?
Studying alone, negative sides. You may have some questions that you won't understand, but there's always a way to figure it out.
Very good. What about you?
So I do like studying solo, but even if I have friends to study with, I probably won't, because you will lose focus, definitely. You'll either not study or you will study and you won't understand.
But I have to disagree with this, because like for me, even though like I'm not a student anymore, but for like motivation, I only use my friends. For example, let's say that I have a best friend, she lives abroad. I always FaceTime her so that she gives me the motivation to do something. Don't you think that having a friend, having someone to study with, gives you the motivation to study more?
I think studying with them, I don't really like that idea, but using them to study. For example, you have a competitive challenge. Whoever wins is better, let's say, smarter. It motivates you, like, to study more, and they're your friends, so you want to be.
So you're saying challenging your friends to get good marks, better marks?
Yes.
You're saying that? Have you done that before? Like challenging your friends to get
No.
better marks? No, never?
Like motivation, I agree, but even if you don't have friends, you can ask your family members. They can always motivate you.
That's great, that's great. Okay, speaking of motivation, other than, let's say, having your friend motivate you or your family, what do you get motivation from?
It's always that feeling when you get a good mark, and it encourages you to get even more of that feeling. It's such a great experience that you just keep wanting to relive it.
Okay, how about, let's say, any tool that you use to, let's say, study?
It's not a tool, but I sometimes use my little brother. He can't even speak. I just say
How do you use them?
I say the things that I remember to his face, and he doesn't even understand, but it helps me.
I've read a research. It's about like talking to yourself in front of a mirror. Like, let's say, use yourself, use your reflection as someone that you're speaking to. Have you ever done that before? No? What do you use then?
It's called the blocking method. After you finish, it's a review. You grab a blue pen, write everything that you remember. And then grab a red pen. You study after the blue pen. You study for 30 more minutes, and then grab a red pen, write everything that you do, write with the blue pen.
Okay, I was about to ask that, like any self-testing method, and you said that's amazing. But any other let's say, testing methods that you use? Maybe online tools, stuff like that?
I use online tools and just like my family members. I ask someone to ask me a few questions. I think that's the most common. Or I go on an app, Google, let's say, I search up practice tests for the lesson, and it's the exact same things from our book, and it's like a test. It's just the same thing, and I study on that.
So you're testing yourself before the exam so that you know what you know and what you don't?
Yeah.
Very good. Do you do that as well?
I don't use online tools, but there's always a family member to ask.
You are one of the smartest students in the 7th grade that I know of. Guys, do you have mobile phones that you use a lot?
Yes, of course.
Okay. Do you think that having a mobile phone can, let's say, prevent you from studying?
Of course it can.
It can if you don't know how to use it. For
What
example,
do you mean by that?
taking your phone away during the exam times is the best way to study. But sometimes you just have that urge to grab your phone and text your friends, let's say.
You can always put on a time. You have a screen time on your phone. You can put on 30 minutes, an hour or less. And then after the hour, you can't use your phone anymore, and you can just study.
Like, not just for studying for the exam, I do something similar. So for example, when I read books, I put let's say they're recording the time for, let's say, 15 minutes, and then after 15 minutes I rest for 10 minutes. And those 10 minutes I only, let's say, use my phone or like grab a snack or something. That can be like work very well, right?
Yeah. As most people say, I saw a teacher telling his class how to study. He said you can study for 1 hour and have a 15-minute break. only if you study well in that 1 hour. It motivates those students to study well in that 1 hour and have those 15 minutes as a gift.
Very good. Okay. What about burnouts? For example, let's say that the exams are coming in a week, right? How do you deal with burnouts? You've studied for so many hours. You're very tired. You don't have the motivation to go on. What do you do to motivate yourself to, let's say, regain that energy?
Taking a nap is always nice, but I guess doing like most boys, as myself, we just play football.
You know what? Naps or let's say sleep can fix every problem, in my opinion. Like, you're tired, go take a nap. You're sad, go take a nap. You're, let's say, happy, go take a nap. It works for everything, right?
Yeah.
Like every time me personally, if I finish studies, I go take a nap because it's better and helps you.
That's great. Okay, what about, let's say, you said that you play
Video games.
What do you play usually?
Racing games, probably.
Racing games?
Yeah.
Do you play?
I don't play racing game, I play FIFA.
What about YouTube? So many of the students, they say that they use YouTube a lot, right?
Everyone does, but like...
What's your favorite thing to watch on YouTube?
Just games.
Games?
Yes.
You and your obsession with games, boys. Right?
Yeah. When you have a problem, you can always search it on YouTube because there are many teachers that have YouTube accounts.
Very good. How do you switch your game? How do you know you have to change your tip of study, your way of studying? So for example, let's say that you've been memorizing something, then all of a sudden you have the urge to change your way of studying. How do you know that?
It's always not getting or not understanding that lesson. For example, we're memorizing a paragraph for any lesson. If you can't do it, like by talking, I usually just grab a piece of paper and write it down, and the rest, and if I remember, then I'll keep saying it. I'll just remember the things I've already written, because doing something is better than just saying it.
After, for example, after you finish, you tell your parents to test you, and if you're bad doing that, you have to write it, because writing is very, very important.
Okay, so you mentioned that you ask your parents or your siblings for help, right? How do you know? So most of the times you guys say that you like to work on your own and do things in your own way, right? But how do you know, or when do you start asking other people to help you?
When you don't understand how it works. Like, for example, in math, some problems in math are hard. Like, for our age, you ask someone older than us, because they will probably know it. And if they don't, there's always a way.
As he said, if I don't understand something, I look at the examples in the book, and if I still don't get it, I ask my parents maybe.
Okay, tell me some tips. So for example, let's say that you have a test coming in, let's say in a couple of hours. You haven't studied a lot, you don't know much about this exam. Tell the viewers how they can prepare themselves for an exam that they haven't studied enough for.
First of all, there's no reason you wouldn't study for an exam until there's a few hours left. But if you do, let's say you forgot,
yes,
you have to remember the things you've learned in class, not just keep on memorizing everything, because that will make you forget it. So remembering the things in class is the most important.
Like he said, remembering the things in class is very important, and you should always listen to the teacher. And if you have a few more hours to study, just be relaxed, calm, and do your studies.
Okay, thank you. Another question that always comes to my mind about studying: do you guys challenge yourselves with something? So, for example, let's say that I have, even though I'm not studying anymore. For example, let's say that I have something that I really want. I really want to read this book. I really want to watch this show. But if I don't do this, then I will not be able to do that. Do you understand what I mean? So challenging yourself with something so that you can study better.
You mean that if I study, then I can do this thing?
Yes.
Yeah, for example, I say I will study until dinner time and I'll try to learn as much as I can. If I do a lot of studying, then I can do whatever I want afterwards.
Very good.
If you finish your studies first, then afterwards you'll be free and it will be very fun to you. You can do whatever you want after you finish your studies. Don't take it at the last time.
Okay, how do you know when you're not good at something? So for example, let's say you talked about a hard exam, let's say test. How do you know that you're not good at this thing, so that you have to study more?
Just not understanding the lesson, I think.
What's your the hardest subject to you?
For me, Kurdish.
Kurdish?
Yes.
What about you?
I don't have hard subject. Probably Kurdish because this year is weird. But in the last years, social was very hard to me. But now it's really easy because I've gotten a better grade at social. It's better.
Very good. So guys, the last question that I want to ask you, tell the viewers any tip, anything that you think will motivate them, will help them to, let's say, study for the upcoming exams.
I said a lot of them already, like competing with your friends, or just telling a family member anything you know, or writing it down as you said. But trying to remember the things in the exams is hard, so a tip is studying, going outside for an hour maybe, and then coming back to your room, let's say, and writing down everything you remember from that time.
Have you seen those motivational speakers when they're like, do this, do that? If you do this, they will get this. Why don't you talk like that for the viewers? Can you try?
You just have to if you're not motivated, you can think about your future, how good it will go if you complete your plan and go on your goals.
Very good.
Like he said, if you don't have motivation to study, you can think about how the bad mark you'll get in the future.
I've seen motivational speakers, they try to be like this. You want that PlayStation, you want that Xbox, go and study first. If you want to get good Xbox, PlayStation 5, study and you will get it. Your parents will, let's say, buy you as a gift. Promise. That brings me to the question. Do your parents gives you prizes or let's say rewards for good marks or good grades?
Yes, of course.
Maybe once a year, but I'll be thankful.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think most parents should give it to them a lot.
What's the biggest, let's say, gift that you've received for a good grade?
Good grade, I guess PlayStation 5.
See, I told you. Study and you'll get a PlayStation 5. Yes.
You get a lot of good gifts, but making them happy is the best one.
That's really nice.
I still do think that most parents shouldn't give their kids presents.
Why?
One, it will lead them to being spoiled, and then they'll study for the gift and not the actual grade.
So you're saying putting more meaning into the lessons, the subjects, the test is far more important than the prizes?
Yes, definitely.
He's so into studying that he doesn't even care about the prizes. But I'm not gonna lie, I really like gifts.
Yeah, I'll be thankful, of course.
That's great. Okay, so I don't have any more questions to ask you guys. Thank you so much for your time. It was really nice to meet you guys. Inshallah, I'll see you around in school. Okay?
Thanks for having us.
And inshallah, you'll get great marks.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching, dear viewers. Inshallah, you will also get great marks. Listen to these beautiful students and amazing students, and I'm sure that you'll get great marks. Thank you.